Okay, welcome back to the show, and we will resolve the confusion about what Speaker Bagbin said by just playing back to you the video of what happened in Parliament today. So the Speaker came to Parliament today, and he needed to make a clarification on something people said he had said or that he had not said relating to the Adwoa Safo issue. So what's the issue? Adwoa Safo's own party, the New Patriotic Party, are threatening to invoke this constitutional provision behind me, which we're going to go through, to remove her from Parliament. Removing her from Parliament would mean that there has to be occasion the by-election in the Adom-Otchere constituency, which he has represented since 2012, 2013 Parliament, which would be about, I believe, the 6th or 5th Parliament. And now she is being threatened with a dismissal from Parliament. The question that we have to ask ourselves is, the candidate who is dismissed from the seat in those circumstances, can she or he participate in the by-election? So we are looking at something very interesting that may be coming up. Now, why is it interesting? It's interesting because now the National Democratic Congress, the minority in Parliament, are backing Adwoa Safo not to be removed, and they have indicated that wherever their cooperation is required by the majority for this process to occur, they will not give their cooperation. We'll check the law and see the extent to which their cooperation is needed so we can analyze and understand it. But think of this scenario. The NPP successfully goes through and removes Adwoa Safo from Parliament. The law doesn't really say that she's disqualified from contesting the next election. She's certainly not disqualified from contesting the election. So the NPP will go through their process. They may choose a new candidate to be their candidate for the constituency. Guess what could happen? Adwoa Safo could run as an independent candidate. Worse still, she could run as the NDC candidate. Now, when we talk about she running as the NDC candidate, we need to look at the provisions in Parliament and see whether it will apply. The provisions in Parliament are that, the provisions in the standing orders and the Constitution are that when a candidate leaves his party, the party on whose ticket he won the parliamentary seat, when he leaves that party and joins a new party, he ceases to be a member of Parliament. Later tonight, we'll be showing you where that rule came from, because Dr. Beda Samoa, in his big book, which we are relying on tonight for the Nkrumah coup analysis, talks about this particular provision, how it came into the Constitution since the Second Republic and how it has remained. But that's the constitutional provision. If you are NDC and you leave the NDC and join the NPP, you automatically lose your seat in Parliament. If you are NPP and you leave the NPP and join the NDC, you automatically lose your seat in Parliament. If Adwoa Safo were to leave now, or if he were to be dismissed now, and then she decides that she wants to run in the by-election in Adom-Otchere as an independent candidate, nobody can stop her from doing that. And if she decides to run as the NDC candidate, nobody can stop her from doing that. So that's something very interesting that we should be looking at. But it looks like the heat is on. The heat is definitely on, and the heat is on because our Parliament is almost evenly divided, and that for me is a good advertisement for our democracy. Let's go straight to the Article 97 of the 1992 Constitution and deal with the story. So it says as follows: a member of Parliament shall vacate his seat or her seat in Parliament if he is absent without the permission in writing of the Speaker and he is unable to offer a reasonable explanation to the Parliamentary Committee on Privileges from 15 sittings of a meeting of Parliament during any period that the Parliament has been summoned to meet and continues to meet. Okay, so this is quite loaded, isn't it? It's quite loaded. So let's take it step by step. A member of Parliament shall automatically vacate your seat if you have been absent without the permission in writing of the Speaker. And so there are two levels of remedial measures that can save a member of Parliament if he's absented himself for 15 sittings. There are two remedial measures, two levels of remedial measures. So remedial measure one, he must have done that with the permission of the Speaker given in writing. That's level number one. There is a second level that throws up interesting possibilities here. The second level is if that member of Parliament, the affected member of Parliament, is unable to offer a reasonable explanation to the Parliamentary Committee on Privileges. Now, the Parliamentary Committee on Privileges includes NDC people and includes NPP people. The Committee on Privileges must come to the conclusion that where the affected member of Parliament has rendered an excuse, has given a reason why he was unable to attend 15 sittings and he could not do, and he did so without the permission in writing of the Speaker, the Privileges Committee is the third remedial level where the person can be heard. And the Privileges Committee can hear the person and say that, nonetheless, okay, we think that the explanation is reasonable. This is a constitutional provision. It's not even parliamentary standing. It's a constitutional provision. Article 97. So it's a serious one, isn't it? Now, so Adwoa Safo may go before the Privileges Committee and they'll ask her, do you have the permission of the Speaker in writing? We will show you the Speaker's video on that. Speaker says she does not have his permission. Okay, so she fails on the first remedial level. Second remedial level, do you have any reasonable explanation why you have refused to be in Parliament upon 15 sittings? She may say, yes, I do. Okay, let's hear you. The committee hears you. The NDC will decide that she's spoken well and that the reasons she's given is reasonable. The NPP will decide that the reasons she's given is not reasonable. There will be a vote. And the vote of the committee, which then will go to the whole House, for the House to approve the committee's report, which then can go into a division of votes again. So you get that? You see, it's not over yet at all. It's going to be, it could be long, it could be interesting, it could be winding for us political observers. It could also be very interesting. So this is, you get the sense of what I'm saying now, don't you? So Adwoa Safo has 15 working days. She's out because the Speaker says I didn't give her permission. So that remedial level is gone. Now she comes before the committee. Committee says, what's your reason? Says my reason is XYZ. NDC says, oh, XYZ, it's a correct reason. NPP says XYZ is a wrong reason. So we put it to the vote. NPP are more by one in each of the committees, except, of course, the Public Accounts Committee, and they chair all the committees, so they will take a vote. The vote might come clearly and say that 15 say Adwoa Safo's reason was unreasonable, and therefore she should proceed to vacate her seat for a by-election to be occasioned, and then 14 will say, no, Adwoa Safo's reason is very, very reasonable, and so we don't want her to go. Okay, so the committee will present their report to the committee of the holders, the whole House, and then the whole House will consider the report and say the Privileges Committee has voted by majority that Honorable Adwoa Safo's reasons for staying away is untenable. Then the minority leader may say that, Mr. Speaker, no, this report must be tested. Put it to a vote. Does the NPP have 138? And at that time, Adwoa Safo is still part of the Parliamentary. She's still a member of the Parliament at the time that all of this is happening, and she's the 138th vote of the NPP. She will decide to vote the other way, and then the NDC's 137 will now become 138. That's where we could be going. Would we get there? I don't know. Let's continue with the analysis. Okay. Absence without leave of Article 97(1)(c) of the Constitution. 17(1) says, this is the standing orders of Parliament, which is sort of replicating what 97 said. So this is a standing orders of Parliament. 17 says, a member shall not absent himself during a meeting for more than 15 sittings without the permission in writing of the Speaker. Any member infringing this order shall have his conduct referred to the Privileges Committee. So whether or not the Privileges Committee appearance before it is a remedial measure to this, is being made much more obvious in the standing orders. In the Constitution, it says it, but in the standing orders, it says that any member infringing this order shall have his conduct referred to the Privileges Committee. So before anything could happen, one member must refer the Honorable Adwoa Safo's absence to the Privileges Committee. We've already told you what could happen in the Privileges Committee. Let's move on. Okay, now, still on the standing orders of Parliament, 17(2) says, a member shall be excused from service on the House or any committee so long as he has leave of absence. Okay, that's a different matter. Well, leave of absence. Leave of absence from what? Because Adwoa Safo has some kind of leave of absence, doesn't she? We all know that she has some kind of leave of absence. She does have a leave of absence from her role as Minister for Gender and Gender Development and Social Protection. We know she has leave of absence from that. The term leave of absence has been used here in the parliamentary standing orders. It will most likely be referring to members of Parliament in their role as members of Parliament, not in their role as ministers, because as ministers, they are members of the executive. Standing orders cannot regulate the life of the executive. It only regulates the lives of members of Parliament. So we should suspect that this leave of absence here refers to the person in his role as leave of absence. So as it is, with a cursory appreciation of the rules, it would appear that Adwoa Safo's leave of absence obtained for the purpose of her ministerial position will not count as leave of absence within the context of Section 17(2) of the Standing Orders of Parliament, which is repeating Article 97 of the Constitution. But anyway, let's move on and see what else we have. Okay, now Article 1125 of the Constitution says, whenever a vacancy occurs in Parliament, The Clerk of Parliament shall notify the Electoral Commission in writing within 7 days after becoming aware that the vacancy has occurred, and a by-election shall be held within 30 days after the vacancy occurred, except that where the vacancy occurred through the death of a member, the by-election shall be held within 60 days after the occurrence of the vacancy. Interesting 30 days that we could be having, isn't it? So the law says that where a vacancy occurred. Now, where does a vacancy occur? The vacancy occurs where the Member of Parliament has excluded himself or herself for 15 days. That Member of Parliament has been reported to the Privileges Committee. The remedial measures provided by the platform of the Privileges Committee did not suffice for the Member of Parliament, and so he or she must vacate his seat within 30 days of that occurring, and within 7 days of the clerk writing to the Electoral Commission. Within 30 days after the 7 days of the clerk writing to the Electoral Commission, the by-election will take place in Adom-Otchere, but the crucial issue is who and whom are qualified to participate in the by-election. Fundamentally, any Ghanaian who lives in that constituency or he hails from there is qualified to participate in that by-election. Political parties are then going to send representatives. So the NPP is going to have a candidate. Most likely that candidate will not be Adwoa Safo this time around. It will be another person. But the big question here is, could Adwoa Safo still contest in that election, either as an independent candidate or as a candidate of another political party? The jury's out there. Your guess is as good as mine. Let's continue and see what we got. Okay, so we're just trying to show you then, at this level, what the constituency looks like, so that if we are thinking and talking a by-election, you know how the by-election is going to go. The data that we have pulled out shows that it's a safe seat for the NPP, and the NPP is most likely going to win the by-election. However, the question is, if Sarah Adwoa Safo is standing herself as an independent candidate, does she have some people close to her in the constituency? Has she built her own typical following, personal following of herself? You know, we also know that the Christo Asafo thing is quite big in that constituency. So her father, Apostle Kojo Safo, and others, it's all a bit of talking to be done here, because she may decide that she is filing for the seat as an independent candidate. So she'll be the incumbent. She'll be the independent candidate. The NDC, MPP would have a candidate. I guess the NDC would have a candidate as well. Let's look at the figures. So we begin for 2020. I think we should have begun in 2016. But 2020, this is how it turned out. Nana Akufo-Addo obtained 78,467 of the votes, representing 60.58%. John Dramani Mahama obtained 50,136 of the votes, representing 38.7%. The total votes cast in Adom-Otchere was 129,519. Differences between the candidates was 28,000. That's 20. We should have looked at 2016 first, sorry. So this 2016, Nana Akufo-Addo gets 62,793, representing 67% of the votes. John Dramani Mahama, then the incumbent, obtains 30,099, representing 32%. So 2020 saw Akufo-Addo rise higher with 2016, Akufo-Addo got 67% of the votes. In 2020, he came down to 60% of the votes. John Dramani Mahama got 32% of the votes in 2016. In 2020, he came up to 38% of the votes. It's still, by and large, a very safe seat for the NPP in terms of parliamentary elections, because with parliament, it's first past the post, isn't it? Okay, this is 2016. Sarah Adwoa Safo obtains 63,488 votes in the constituency, representing 67.99%. And Nuruddin Mohammed, a former staff of Metro TV, I should say, a news reporter here, who ran that election against Adwoa Safo on the ticket of the NDC, obtained 29,392, which is 31.48% of the votes. So this was the photograph of the results of 2016's elections. Let's see what happened in 2020. In 2020, Sarah Adwoa Safo obtained 75,000 of the votes, whereas Faustina Elikplim Agurugu obtained 52,262. Now, Sarah Adwoa Safo now gets 58.4% of the votes, dropping from 67% of the votes in 2016, now to managing 58.4% of the votes. The NDC candidature also changed. Nuruddin Mohammed steps down for somebody else. Nuruddin had 31,000, and then Faustina Elikplim Aguru had 52,000, representing Nuruddin had 31% and Faustina has 40%. So that's the data analysis of the constituency. It's still by and large a safe seat, but it's a seat that shows an NDC growing influence in the constituency, albeit quite slow. But you can see that the NDC is growing in influence in the constituency. So it's a by-election up in the offing for the Domiko-Abenya constituency. Your guess is as good as mine. That's how the figures look like. So for NPP, for now, it's by and large a safe seat. Let's look at 2020's figures. So 75,000 and 52,000, that's about 20,000 difference. So the NDC will need to claw back as much as 20,000 votes, 20,000 people who change their minds. All of that may not happen if it's a straightforward race. But in this kind of confusion, in this kind of situation, if Adwoa Safo decides that, okay, I'm very, very angry with my party, they let me down, they did this, they did that, and therefore I'm going to present myself as an independent candidate just to give the NDC the chance, the fighting chance of winning the by-election, she may decide to do that if the negotiations between herself and the NPP don't end well. And we have heard several things. We have heard that she has indicated her concern that she wants to be the deputy majority leader. We don't know how authentic that is. Many observers, political observers, also say that the day that a letter went out of the president's office to Adwoa Safo reversing her decision to dismiss Mrs. Kwashiga from the school feeding program was the day that Adwoa Safo got very upset. But does she have power to get upset in those circumstances? Ministers get their directives changed by the president all the time. The president is the ultimate leader of the government and the party. Article 57 says the executive authority of Ghana shall vest in the president, and the president can share that executive authority with everyone. It goes on further in 59 to say that the executive authority of Ghana shall be expressed to have been taken in the name of the president. So for all ministers, the executive authority that they express is to be understood to have been expressed by the president. It beats imagination, therefore, how a minister will feel that I have taken the directive, I've taken a decision to remove Mrs. Kwashiga, the president has a different opinion, and that must be a problem. That shouldn't be a problem if the minister correctly understands the legal regime within which he's working in an executive arm of government provided for by the Constitution. Every minister should understand that. I sincerely hope that Adwoa Safo did understand that, but many of the people who are close to her, many people who have been observing it have said that that is the problem. At the time when she felt that she had been embarrassed before her subordinate, but Mrs. Kwashiga really a subordinate? I'm not so sure about that. Mrs. Kwashiga has been with the school feeding program since the inception, since President Kufuor's time. Then she's worked with ministers, two other ministers, Otiko Jaba and the other lady from APAM, who went to the ministry. She worked with all of them. And so I do not think that Adwoa Safo should correctly see Mrs. Kwashiga as a subordinate. Within the context of a minister and a director, yes, the minister is the boss. But at the end of the day, the president is the ultimate boss. He makes the decisions. So I really hope that an announcement or assessment or rumor is not true. Let's see what else we have here. Okay, now let's listen to Speaker Bagbin, what he said today about whether or not Adwoa Safo had obtained permission from him to stay away. Here's Speaker Bagbin.
It's important I diffuse some fake news which is being circulated that I granted an interview to say that Honorable Adwoa Safo received permission from me to absent herself from Parliament on health grounds. I want it to be known by all that I have not granted any such interview anywhere. I have not said anything like that anywhere. And the votes and proceedings of the House are so loud that she is absent without permission for all those days. That is on the votes and proceedings of the House. It's not the Speaker who determines who is present and who is absent. No. The votes and proceedings will capture those are present, those are absent, and those who are absent with permission. And so please, I received a lot of calls from a number of media men on that issue. And that's why I don't want to delay in letting the world know that I have not said any such thing anywhere.
I have not said any such thing anywhere. So Bagbin says that if Adwoa Safo has absented herself for 15 working sittings in the meeting, she may have done so, but she did not do so with his permission, because as you saw, the law is quite clear one of the remedial measures is to have the permission in writing of the Speaker. The Speaker says, I have not given her permission to be outside for 15 sittings. So she's due to now face the Privileges Committee. What happens at the Privileges Committee is interesting. So we'll leave it here. And then your guess is as good as mine. Let's go back to Adwoa Safo's video that we'll be showing you this evening. This is Adwoa Safo, 2020 June, excited that she had won the race. And that's part of the rumor going on because people felt that the authorities in the NPP had to bend over backwards to ensure that she won that contest. She won it by a difference of 9 or so over Michael Quay Jr., whose father at the time was Speaker, and who was also Ghana's High Commissioner in India. And it was a very tough contest. I remember that Saturday we covered it, and party forces were in there to ensure that Adwoa Safo won. In fact, Kennedy Japan himself had attested to the fact that he had supported Adwoa Safo to win, and other people had supported her to win because they thought she should win. Adwoa Safo herself was concerned that there had been a directive across the party that women should not be challenged in certain constituencies. She was a woman, she was being challenged, and nobody was helping her. She sang that chorus a little bit, a bit of empathy and pity went out for her, and party big wigs went into the constituency to ensure that Saturday that Adwoa Safo got the victory, and she did get a victory. This is how she reacted to it.
Translated into it means everything to me. It means that people really want a continuation of my good service to them in the constituency, and I'm very, very grateful. Yes, very, very grateful.
Finally, Honorable, are the constituents going to continue to witness the massive project that you've started?
He's here with me. Yeah. Hello.
I'm asking that already you've started some major road projects in the constituency. I'm asking, are you going to continue these projects you've started? Or
exactly, yes. We will continue the roads that we started, the schools, the health centers, the markets, everything. There's a lot of things going on in the constituency, and this is an evidence of the fact that the people really want a completion of those projects, and that is why they've endorsed me again. I think
we spoke to your main contender, and he's pledged his support that if it doesn't go his way, once again he will lend his support to you. It should be a welcoming news to you.
He has called to congratulate me, so that is a bold step, and we are going to work together.
Do you believe you have enough time ahead of you to mend bridges and heal wounds that might have been hurt in these elections before the general elections proper?
Exactly.
All right, so that's Sarah Adwoa Safo there in the mix. That was way back in the June 2020. Let's see what social media is saying. Then we come back with our second story. It's Ghana's economic minister, Ghana's finance minister, Ghana's minister for finance and economic planning. Has he been a disaster? So says Kwame Pianim. I call him Wafa Kwame Pianim because an elder statesman and we all love him. But so says Kwame Pianim. We'll analyze the details after this conversation with social media about what people are saying with our presentation of Adwoa Safo. Christabel, what are they saying?
Okay, so from Nana Owusu, Adwoa Safo's name is being used by the NDC propaganda party to smear her name for the second time. Since when did NDC party empathize with her? Also from Lily Wales, how could she stand as independent while she can't even go to the parliament? I don't get this. And also from Nana Masempa Edu, Paul, I think the media should stop pushing for a by-election. It is not good for NPP as it stands now. Besides, Honorable Adwoa Safo was in Parliament on 2 occasions in December before Christmas break, so I don't think she's been absent from Parliament for 15 sittings.
Aaron Babako Kokomisa says, good evening to you. Citizens by law at a point in their political space or environment do exercise their political rights to vote on issues affecting their political environment through the ballot box, which is enshrined in our 1992 Constitution. They do this by voting to decide on who represents them at the Legislative Council. The point is, we expect every legislature to conduct himself or herself to the conformity of the Code of Conduct that governs the parliamentary proceeding. We voted for them to first of all think Ghana first, then lobby for socio-economic development for their community, not for their interest or for the interest of their political color. And Master Planner Junior Kintampo says the minority should stop the political hoity-toity they are exhibiting. As for Sarah Adwoa Safo, she has ended her political career already. And Richlin Yeboah says there's a reason for every action.
All right. Also coming from Samuel Ofosumba, Honorable Adwoa Safo must stop behaving like the proverbial ostrich. Don't hide behind your father's name and punish the average Ghanaian who needs a better life. NPP has made you how you are, so Adwoa, never be ungrateful to Nana Addo, your legal mentor and coach. Paul Bravo, Ghana owes you credit. And also from Idrisu Kidri Seinu, all forces, I mean all the big guys in NPP worked against Honorable Adwoa Safo prior to the 2020 elections, especially during the parliamentary primaries, but the people love her. Pay back time. And finally, from Nane Kwama Boateng, Ablekuma Central, why is the NDC now fighting for Sarah Adwoa Safo? They know her very well that her absence is greatly affecting NPP, particularly the passage of the e-levy bill. They better chop their house matters. Anyway, regards to Prince Obeng Greater Accra, regional organizer of the New Patriotic Party.
David Will says that Courage Kwashiga has done a lot for NPP and served Ghana very well before he died, and Adwoa wants to do this to his wife, a poor widow who hasn't done anything wrong. And Francis Mensah replies, Adwoa Safo was a young girl when the late Courage Kwashiga was Minister of Health, contributing tremendously to the Kufuor government and NPP. It's sad, yeah. And now Nanaya also appears says Adwoa Safo should not jeopardize her political career. She's an asset to the party. She should be talked to. And Abba Papabi says, Adwoa wanted the poor widow to be dismissed for not doing anything wrong. I can't read the rest of the message because it's a bit harsh. Now, Barima Busumbru says, Paul, Adwoa Safo actually received lesser votes compared to that of Nana Addo in the 2020 election. And Jojo Yamwa says, Paul, good evening. I would like to be educated on the Russia-Ukraine impasse. Yes, that will come on later on. And Dr. Baba says, the minority should stop the... Okay, that's read already. And okay, Nana also says Adwoa Safo's name is only be used by the NDC propaganda party to smear her name for the second time. Since when did the NDC empathize with her? Okay, and David Boanya says a member of parliament shall vacate his seat, not her seat, please. That is what the Constitution said. So now that Adwoa is here,
I think that we have to give a bit of query to the constitutional framers, because why did they write the vacating of the seat in one gender, his? Didn't they know that there will be members of parliament who are women? In fact, by the time they were writing the constitution, Ghana had a history of members of parliament who are women. Tonight, we'll learn how that history occurred when we talk about Kwame Nkrumah and 24th February. That's coming up soon. So please, framers of the constitution, if parliament has the power to change it, sometimes parliament cannot amend these things. Some of these amendments require a referendum. Can you imagine an amendment from a his and her requires a referendum? Unless the Supreme Court, which has the power of constitutional interpretation, were to pass a law, no, they cannot pass a law, were to make a declaration or say something that wherever the Constitution says his, it must be read as a her. That's already what we understand in terms of legal interpretation. But yes, for a Constitution to keep saying his, just his /her would have been fine, isn't it? Okay, cool. Do you have some more messages to go?
Yes, please. Maverick King says the Speaker Bagbin is doing a great disservice to Ghana. Some of us thought he'll seize the opportunity to build an outstanding legacy or reputation, but he seems to be more politically biased in his submissions. He feels so pompous. We thank God Mahama strategically killed his presidential ambitions. He's a failed speaker. That's a bit sad.
Amasala, do you have a bit more?
Yeah, from Bafor Krapim, Sarah Adwoa Safo is unfit to be MP. And from Alexander Sefa, Adwoa Safo is destroying her bright future political ambitions through her actions. And also from Esipoma, really can't wait for her removal. What a waste of space.
Donatos Nyaba says, if you are not performing, you have no business to be in power. Baba Chairman Tamale says, the speaker is just being jittery and talks too much. If he thinks that what the deputy speaker has done is illegal, the minority should know what to do. Or is the speaker suggesting that the minority doesn't know the standing orders of the House?
From Ali Duuma, Paul, I think Adwoa is one of the NPP MPs who voted for Bagbin to become the speaker because her behavior towards parliamentary duty tells it all. Ali Du from University of Winneba. Also, from Richlin Yeboah, no cause for alarm. Look deeper why she's doing so. Adwoa used to be very shy and don't talk much, so there must be a reason. And also from Akon Kwame, Honorable Adwoa Safo is offended because the president instructed her to reinstate the hard-working Mrs. Kwashiga.
Okay, Munkaila says, Honorable Adwoa Safo's character makes people not believe in women's leadership. It's sad for her to be sabotaging her own party or government. Meanwhile, she's potential presidential candidate for future to come. I hope people who matter will advise her appropriately. By Honorable Munkaila. And Lily Will says, I'm so disappointed in Adwoa Safo, very ungrateful. But Kojo Stain says, if you were in her shoes, you would do worse. And Lily Wills replies to that, Kojo Stain, what shoes? She wants to be deputy speaker and she didn't get it.
Okay.